So, Ryan, you're the third appearance on my show. You're the first person
Yes.
to ever do three. That's exciting. So
Yeah,
yeah,
thanks for having me on, Josh. It's always a pleasure to talk to my friends in the UK.
not a problem. So you have just published a new book.
Yes, I'm working on a book right now. I've written about 50,000 words. I'm about to sign a deal with a book publisher
Ah,
with Bombard. It's called Bombardier Books. They're a subdivision of Post Hill Press. So my literary agent has been shopping around for a couple months, and we found this publisher. They're a good publisher. Simone Gold also published with them. Simone Gold was the doctor who stood on the steps of the White House, who was speaking about hydroxychloroquine. So yeah, this book I was looking through my notes just now before this podcast, and I think I signed an agreement around early August with my literary agent, and then I've been working on it since August. And you know how it is with books. I mean, you write you work on it maybe an hour a day. So I committed to myself. What I do, my method is I commit to maybe an hour a day at most. The last couple of months I've been slacking, but early on it was about a half hour an hour a day. So the only way I can do it and not be distracted when I'm on my computer is I go to YouTube and I search techno music, and there's this one mixture of techno music that I play over and over again. It's like an hour long, and it's kind of a mix. And so that's how I do it. I listen to techno music, I write my book. Um, and so, yeah, I'm actually really proud of myself because, 50,000 words is a lot. I've never written a book before. I wrote an ebook last, around June, but I'll be honest, I kind of just copy pasted like things I'd written before. So, but yeah, so I'm working on the book here, 50,000 words. So it should be published. I'm hoping to publish in March or April, which is really soon.
mm,
But the publisher will do a full copy edit, so they'll have their own person like look it over. Um, but yeah, I really just wanted to get the story out. That's why I wrote it. I wanted to just get the story out of what happened, and I think it's a good page turner. I had my wife look it over, and she said it was crap, but no, 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 not so much. But she gave some constructive criticism on my book. Um, I'm looking at the draft right now. Let's see, which draft am I
well,
looking at?
the title was what 30 jobs by 30, right?
Yeah, so that was the ebook from last year that was more like biographical,
Okay.
and where I just kind of copied pasted like essays I'd written from high school and college. Um, and so this one is the one that's coming out is titled "Behind the Mask of Facebook: A Whistleblower's Account of Censorship and Election Interference."
Okay.
Um, So I have I'll go through the table of contents real quick so you kind of know what it's about. So I talk about, let's see here. There's chapters. So chapter one is a day in the life of a content moderator, because I essentially was deleting, for those of you that don't know, I was deleting posts and comments on Facebook's platform. So I was a human censor, and I talk about Eric Ciamarella, the Ukraine whistleblower who he helped get an impeachment for President Donald Trump. He was the one who overheard a phone call between the Ukraine president and the president of the United States, Trump. I talk about Greta Thunberg, how Facebook, stuck their neck out to protect her. I talk about global interference in elections in Canada, from Canada to Colombia, nationalism. I talk about how Facebook tries to paint Trump as a racist every time he talks. um, I talk about Trump puppers and feminazis, Antifa, um, Facebook's hate speech policy, abortion, the Civil War, Boogaloo is a phrase we use in the United States here to kind of refer to Civil War. And I talk about Brazil a little bit because I've been involved in Brazil with against censorship there. And I also talk about Section 230, the Communications Decency Act. So it's a lot. It's a very
Heard so
yeah.
much. I've heard so much about that. Like Tim Pool was explaining that he thinks that 230 would essentially open up all of the social media companies to being sued for anything posted on their platform, any sort of content, and he thinks that that would lead to either the complete collapse of some of these companies, or like, for example, on YouTube or Twitter, only verified accepted users being able to post anything. Is that like, what's your take on like, did you think it was like, do you think 230 is a good idea to have, or a bad idea?
Yeah, so that's the thing. So right now, Trump and everybody's calling to repeal Section 230, like just delete it
Mm.
completely.
Yeah, but that
Um,
seems like a lot of people were saying that, like, people keep were talking about Trump having his they always want has this 4D chess reasons for getting rid of it, but like it seems kind of short sighted, just because it seems like he's kind of like doing it in order to prevent like bad things being said about him, so he can sue social media companies basically. But
yeah,
it's gonna wipe off like it's got the potential to just like get rid of any alternative narratives whatsoever.
yeah, I don't agree. I don't agree with Trump on that one. I don't think we should repeal it completely. Um, it would be too chaotic. It's like if you had a bunch all your traffic laws, if all of a sudden you said, "Hey, I don't agree with some of the traffic laws, so let's just erase all of the traffic laws from the books."
Yeah.
That would cause chaos. Okay, so I agree with Tim Pool, and I agree that we should. Well, I think we should reform it. And Jason Fick, FYK, who's has a lawsuit against Facebook in this at the Supreme Court, and his case will be decided whether it will be heard in a couple days. Actually, by January 8th, we'll know if they're going to hear his case. He also agrees. I spoke with him earlier this week. I
What is
visited
his
with him.
what's his case?
So his case is essentially, so it's Jason Fick versus Facebook, but essentially he argues that they're not interpreting Section 230 correctly. So it has to do with the publisher versus a publisher, and that the courts in California have misinterpreted Section 230 and basically given Facebook more protections than they should have. So there's a section of the law that where the courts wrongly did not apply the good faith aspect of the law to those to these companies. Um, so Jason Fick, he had his Facebook page deleted, uh, like 4 years ago, roughly. He had 30 million like followers or likes. He had more than 20 pages. He was a multimillionaire using social media, but then he started speaking out about stuff that he wasn't that Facebook didn't want or whatever. So they basically took down his page and tried to sell it to someone else. Yeah, so Jason Fick's case basically would have the U.S. Supreme Court, reinterpret Section 230 for the first time. So it's never been interpreted by the Supreme Court. So he believes that that would fix the issues with the law. Um, so I don't know. I feel like it's kind of a mixed bag. I think we can't really rely on the Supreme Court. We saw that the Supreme Court tossed out that case from Texas regarding the election lawsuit
Mm.
about a couple weeks ago, and so I can't really rely on the Supreme Court. So if this is a last ditch effort to like keep Facebook from taking over the internet and the world, then maybe we should repeal Section 230. If it's that desperate, maybe we can start from scratch. But obviously, reforming it would be a lot easier on everybody and a lot less chaotic. Um, so that's kind of where we're at with Section 230. But yeah, Jason Fick's lawsuit. I mean, if he wins it and there's a settlement, I mean, the initial ask from his attorneys is like in the billions of dollars, billions with a B. So
I
I mean,
mean, Facebook, what did they pay? Was it 7 billion? They paid some outrageous fucking fine. I
to the
can't remember.
European Union,
To the European Union. Yeah, I think it was
yeah,
was it
it was
and
either 5 billion or 7 billion. Yeah,
7 billion, and do you know what happened? The stock price went up. They paid their
oh my
seven.
god,
They paid their yeah. They paid their 7 billion fine, and the stock price went like up
jeez,
because they had set aside more than that in order to pay the fine. This is just what I heard, that they set aside so much in order to pay the fine, that it was a good thing for the company and the shareholders that it was only 7 billion, and that it
yeah,
wasn't like a number that was going to bankrupt them basically. So they got a nice little bump.
yeah. How much has Facebook made this year?
Oh god.
Um, I think their stock values increased probably like 30%. Let's see.
What are they worth? I
Somebody,
think I read 800 billion they're worth.
yeah. Let's see here. Anyways, yeah, they're just ridiculously rich.
Yeah.
So that's the thing, and that's my issue with reform. Like, okay, you say you want to reform Section 230 or have the legislature fix it. Well, Facebook's paid off like half of the legislators in Congress, right?
Hmm.
So they're going to have a big say into how the new law is written, and it's going to protect them. So there's no, I think the also the antitrust lawsuit. So a couple of weeks ago we had 3 weeks ago we had an antitrust lawsuit filed by 48 states in the union here against Facebook. So antitrust might be the way to go to break up Facebook.
Hmm.
But yeah, I think you're right with Tim Pool's argument where if we peel it completely, these larger companies are going to be able to survive because they have the deep pockets against lawsuits, whereas smaller companies like Parler
Hmm.
would suffer a lot more.
Have you heard much about there's someone was raising concerns with me the other day about the new Facebook terms of service that I think are due to come in. Either they've just come in or they're due to, relating to like what they can do with our personal data and image and whatnot. Have you heard anything on this?
So I watched the video by JP, what's his name? JP Awakening, I think his name. He makes these funny parody videos, and he talked about Instagram's new terms of service. Awaken with JP, yeah. So let me see if I know. And so he was talking about the new terms of service, how they basically just obliterate any semblance of privacy.
Hmm.
Um, let's see here. Instagram, yeah, Instagram's new temp. Here we go. So I'm pretty sure the user grants Instagram a global license to use their content, not exclusive, fully paid and free, transferable, under conceded. This means that Instagram has all the rights of the original owner of the content, in addition to the fact that it is not an exclusive license. It is important for photographers to be aware of this because if they sell an image under an exclusive license, the image element on Instagram would violate that license. So yeah, it's funny because my dad had the same issue years ago with Gmail because he actually read through the terms of service with Gmail, and he's an engineer, and technically anything that you send over Gmail, I believe it was Gmail, yeah, is basically belongs to Google. Some weird caveat. So he would use Hotmail instead. But these terms of service seem to be overreaching, which seems to be the trend in the last year, right? Big tech overreaching.
Yeah, I mean like as we sort of mentioned this before we started. Like when I talked to you and Zach about your work for Project Veritas, like I don't know, like 6 months ago,
Yeah,
like we were talking a lot about like how dangerous this sort of slow creep of censorship and the like it seemed kind of very in the background when we talked last time, and now it's so blatant and so insane. like it started with I think the real moment that I noticed how bad it was getting was the this claim about election fraud is disputed thing under all of
hmm,
Trump's tweets. And it's like, fair enough. There's loads of claims
yeah,
on Twitter that are fucking disputed. Like, you don't mark all of them, do you? Like,
yeah,
and from then it seemed to get like much worse. Like, do you think we have a way to like stop this like serious overreach on censorship? Because it's not just on that. It's anyone that prevents a narrative contrary to like anything on COVID or lockdowns or masks or anything in that area that isn't just like exactly what like the official line is gone. Uh,
yeah,
like, do we have a way to fight back?
yeah. Like fighting back is tough. I mean, we saw, yeah, we've seen the increase in censorship. So like a year before the election, so let's say like October 2019, I was working at Facebook, and I think at that point, Zuckerberg had had a couple of meetings with Trump, and there was this push from Twitter. Twitter agreed to ban or fact check political ads, but Facebook at the time was holding back. So I'm like, hey, that's a good sign. But it's funny because the media was trying to paint Zuckerberg as like this pro-Trump guy just because he had one meeting with Trump. So I'm like, okay, that's a good sign. But then fast forward a year, and and Facebook throws it out the window, and so then now they're fact checking everything. And so that was the first the first sign, is the reverse on that decision for fact checking political ads. And then you also had in mid October here in the United States, I'm not sure if it happened in the UK as well. We had hundreds of large YouTube channels deleted for no reason. So we had like SGT Report, I think X22. These are guys with hundreds of thousands of subscribers. Just one day to the next, they all these channels were deleted, and they were all right wing, or or maybe not right wing, but just kind of not your mainstream media, just different sources of news. So yeah, this acceleration. I mean, since October, we've seen them pull their gloves off. It's tech tyranny at its finest. Um, yeah, what are the things that we've seen where they're just pulling off their gloves? I mean, we had stop this. Let's see. Well, the stop the steal movement. I think they banned like stop the steal. So that phrase, if you use it anywhere, I think someone's shared the meme to me where they put like stop the steal, like stop shoplifting at local grocery stores, and then that got deleted because it had the word stop the steal in it. So
Wow, that is amazing.
yeah, for those of you who don't know, a Stop the Steal is this grassroots movement in the United States, um, you know, speaking out about these irregularities we saw during the election. And there's a guy named Ali, Ali, who's the kind of the leader of this movement, and he'll be in DC next week. And he encouraged people to bring tents. The mayor of Washington D.C., Miss Bowser, is trying to shut everything down. She's closing restaurants to make it more difficult for millions of people to come to DC and protest. So, but yeah, as far as just to finish up on the tech censorship, I mean, I'm on reclaimthenet.org, and we had Twitter blocks medical journal after it published a positive study on another type of treatment for coronavirus. Oh, and
It's
then
that
just
new
if you
drug
just
they're talking about. What's it called?
let's see here, ivermectin,
Yeah,
ivermectin.
that's the one. 'Cause
Yeah,
they're handing out packs as well in India, I think, like at like all pharmacies, or at least like widespread. It has that in it, and like vitamin D and some other supplement, and they're like claiming that that's like an effective treatment. Um,
yeah,
so it's really disturbing though to like watch things that, like, surely we should be celebrating that moment. It's like, wow, cool. Like science and medicine figured out that we already had this drug that might be really helpful. And
yeah,
and it's like been around for years, it's been tested and all okay. Then like that should be a really awesome piece of news.
yeah,
That should be like, oh, awesome, guys. We don't need to worry as much about like the keeping the vaccines at -70 and distributing them to like millions of people. Like we can just like treat people. Like surely that should be like, woo, we should be celebrating that moment.
yeah,
And instead we're like crushing it as if it's just like, no, like that's not what we want. Like vaccines are more profitable, or like
yeah,
treatment is not what we need. Like that's the message that like they're sending out when they decide to like censor something like this. Like surely that's awesome news, and they just
yeah,
want to crush it, and it makes people crazy. It's like, well, I've seen like endless things about like everyone's going like conspiracy theories have blown up, and it's like, well, if when you crush stuff like this, what do you expect to happen? Like
yeah,
even if it's like with the most like genuine intentions that you can possibly imagine, like you say, no, it's really important right now that we make sure that people are not being misinformed about things, because we want people to have the correct information, even if it's
mhm,
coming from there. Like it's still a horribly stupid thing to just flat out ban it.
yeah. No, yeah, it's amazing to see like how some of these treatments are just being squashed. And I talked to the weekend before Christmas. I was in West Palm Beach, Florida, at a political conference. I was talking to a doctor. He's an emergency room doctor. His name is Sean, and he thought it was interesting how we had Operation Warp Speed, which is the Trump's administration's efforts to create the vaccine in record time, like 9 months. And so we're like all the Trump supporters like praising Trump for that. Oh, that's great, Operation Warp Speed. And then when the vaccine comes out, all the Trump supporters are like, nah, we don't want to take it. So that doctor just commented how that was kind of an interesting dichotomy, like how, yeah, just kind of ironic. And if we need to take the vaccine, that's fine. Vaccines, can be a good thing, but if there's a natural treatment then why not use the natural treatment? And the drug companies know the reason why is because the natural treatment's a lot less expensive than the vaccine, and the pharmaceutical companies, big pharma, they don't make as much money um, with unless they sell their vaccine. So
Yeah, but like I was listening to someone speak about this, and they said that they were comparing it to like the building of like this new house, and you have all these different pillars like all
hmm
seemingly working in tandem together, like
hmm
but like in totally separate areas, but for the to the same end. And like one of them's like big pharma pushing the most profitable treatment on us, or the most profitable type of tests for them, like the PCR tests, instead of them
yeah,
approving like a lot of the quick tests. Michael Mina was talking about this on Lex Friedman's podcast, which is really fantastic. Actually, listening to him talk about it, it makes you realize that you could solve this issue pretty quickly and quite cost effectively, and you know, make sure that you weren't getting people weren't getting widely infected if you're just
yeah,
being smart about it. And it doesn't have
mhm,
to be like let's vaccinate 300 million people or whatever.
yeah,
There's a much more sensible like option to go there. And I'm curious actually, like if we've gone too far for YouTube with if this is going to get taken down tomorrow, but when I put it up, we'll see.
probably, yeah,
Yeah, but like just it just seems that we've departed from trying to figure out the best way to do things. It's like we've got
yeah,
like here's what we're doing. We've got the blinkers on, and just anything outside of that is just not heard or not listened to, or just immediately dismissed. And I think it's making
yeah,
people I think it's making people go crazy. Like sometimes I feel like I'm losing my mind. Like just things that would have been normal a year ago. Like normally it goes like government makes a law or policy. Journalists ask how, why, who's going to pay for this, like why is this better than before, like what are the
yeah,
risks, all of these things. And then the media, the government will respond and say, okay, here's our answer. The media will talk about their answers, and the public can accept it after reading the newspaper and you know, seeing the clips
hmm
on the nightly news or whatever. And that's how things used to work. Like government would do something, they would be asked about it, their response would be given, and then the public would kind of like deliberate about it, and the journalist's job was to figure out if the government were lying. Now it just
yeah,
goes, here's the law, here's our edict. I don't even want to say law because half of them haven't been voted on. Then
yeah,
media repeats it. Public just has to go, okay, yes or no. Like we, there's
yeah,
it's like the middle discussion-y bit that used to like give people acceptance and the feeling that they lived in a democratic and free society is just been wiped off the
hmm
face of the earth.
yeah, and then we saw this viral video just I believe yesterday or the last couple of days where the police in Canada received a report that haven't Josh, this is serious. 6 people were gathered together in a house. 6 people. Like this is, people cannot have private gatherings. Right? I'm being sarcastic. So the police broke into. There's video of this, and I think it has like 3 or plus million views. But yeah, the 6 people were gathered together in their house like a family gathering. Their neighbor reported it, and then the cops show up and forcibly arrest these people for having a gathering of 6 people. And so I think this is where Ezra Levant, he with Rebel News, he tweeted about it, and he's just like, look, I've always been a police supporter, but this is the first time that I've questioned supporting the police, because if you have police who are just following orders, hey, look, I understand they have a job to do and they're trying to get paid, and they have families as well. But if they're enforcing unconstitutional or unethical rules, where do we draw the line? Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, it's I've seen a few people talking about this, and like I was having this discussion with a friend of mine about whether like if you're a police officer, you've got to be seriously conflicted right now, because like your job is to protect people. But like
Mm,
with when a government becomes more harmful to the people than the people are being to each other, then like who are you there to protect? Like
yeah.
do you protect the government and like the legal system and the system that you operate in, because like you believe in the system and you think that has to like we have to like protect the rule of law even at the cost of like even when it's an unjust law.
Yeah.
And or do you, at what point do we say no, like we will not enforce this because it's like we believe maybe it's unconstitutional.
Hmm.
It's again, you're losing your right to freedom of assembly, or it's just like, yeah, the your right to the, was it the life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
Yeah.
And like, or just like just the freedoms that we hold in like the developed world, as like the things that have made our societies the most like prosperous in the history of the world.
Yeah.
And it's such a like, I would not want to be a police officer right now, like that,
No.
because the Black Lives Matter thing is always like all cops are bastards, right? Or all cops are bad.
Hmm.
And like, if you're a cop, like, where do you stand now? Like, you're stuck between like having a job and like upholding the principles that you believe in. But then if you lose your job, you're not even in a position to uphold those like freedoms anymore. Like, it's a clusterfuck.
Yeah. No, it really is. I mean, for police officers, it is tough. And I think this, so in the United States, there's groups of sheriffs. The sheriffs also enforce the law, but in California and other states, sheriffs have said they're not going to enforce, the mask mandate, for example. So the sheriffs have a little more, I guess, autonomy, where they have tend to take a stand more against these unlawful orders. Whereas the city police, like the city of Phoenix, where I live, these police officers, they have more, I don't know, they can't as easily resist these unlawful orders. But yeah, here in Phoenix, for example, the city of Phoenix declared that any outdoor sports, organized sports, are now banned. This is like 3 weeks ago. So like the one place where you could have the most social distancing, like an outdoor recreational soccer league or even a competitive soccer league for teenagers. So the one chance the kids have to get outside of their house after being locked down for 9 months, and the place with the most likelihood for social distancing, they shut it down. Like, where's the logic in that? If you're discussing policy decisions and input from feedback from the public, well, where was the input from the public? Here in Arizona, Governor Doug Ducey is essentially a dictator of our state, because in May of this year, he took emergency powers from the legislature. So now the legislature has no power to do anything. Um, so yeah, I mean, it's funny. We were talking about books earlier, and the book I'm working on, and I have this meme. I'll try to share it on my screen. Oh, maybe not. But anyways, there's this funny like meme. It tells you how to write the title of your paper. So maybe we could write a title of a paper about coronavirus. So you pick the first letter of your name. So your first Josh. So I'll pick a
Gosh, yeah,
J.
yeah,
So J is redefining, and then your last
okay,
initial H.
yeah.
Redefining historical categories, and then I'll put in an intersectional framework. So it's kind of like that SJW like type um,
Hmm. I talked to
title
a
of
professor who does a little bit of work on intersectionality.
yeah. And so
So I'm
yeah,
redefining historical. What am I redefining historical categories?
as a site of political contestation. There you go.
Wow.
So if you want to write a fancy paper or a book, just I can share
Mhm.
this image with you. So yeah, we've talked about coronavirus. We've talked about the March on Washington, the acceleration of tech censorship. I still have time here, so let's try to think
Yeah,
what else would be interesting.
I wanted to ask, like, how many people do you think are going to turn up on the 6th? And do you want to explain to people
Yeah.
like why Trump is asking people to arrive in Washington on the 6th? Like, it's not just because I get like, it's anytime I read a news story about it, like they make it sound like Trump is being like, okay, people, we're going to storm Congress and we're just going to take it by force. Bring all your guns, like all of them. I want them to see the real America. Like, we're like, and he's like, come on, people, if you're going to do revolutions, you're going to do the best revolutions. Like, we're just going to behead all of them on the steps of Congress, right in front of Lincoln. Like,
Yeah.
that's, but that's what it sounds like every time I read a story about it. And as far as I was aware, like, it's a rally to show that people don't believe in the election. Essentially, they want to, he wants to like show that there are millions of people, whatever you think
Yeah.
of their opinion, there are millions of people who don't believe that Joe Biden won fairly. And that's a really dangerous place to be at. And maybe the people in Congress should like consider that, like, if like, I don't know, was it some stupid like 80% of Republicans, I think I read, don't believe Joe Biden won. That's like about 70 million people. That's pretty much everyone that voted for Trump. And if you just have all of those people not believe in the electoral system like that, that doesn't end well. And
Yeah.
yeah. So how many people do you
No.
think are gonna turn up?
Ooh, so everyone's been pushing it hard, and the initial tweet was from Trump was on December 18th, and he said, "Hey, we're gonna have he basically it's impossible to have lost the 2020 election. There's a big protest on January 6th. Be there. Will be wild." So I'm guessing at least 2 million at this point. 2 million. I've tried to reach out to people. There's various militia groups as well, or just groups of patriots who are planning to go to DC. I'd say there's I don't know I don't know what percentage of the population lives within 12 hours of DC, but
Quite
the
a
East
big
Coast is very
portion,
heavily.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
probably 100 million people live within 12 hours of DC. So if you can, I think we can get 2 million people there. The mayor of Washington DC, her name is Bowser, like from Nintendo, Bowser, the boss, the end boss, right?
I hope someone's made that
Um,
meme.
if not, I will make that today. Bowser or King Koopa, yeah. So her name is the mayor of DC is Bowser, and she's shutting down restaurants. She's saying, "Hey, just for these 3 days, she's ordering restaurants to close." Like, I don't know how that's even constitutional. So my issue is I'm going to be there I'm flying Tuesday. I'll be for a couple days, fly back Thursday. But basic needs, necessities like porta potties, which I don't know what you call them in the UK, in Europe, but
Yeah, that do a porta potty, portaloo.
porta potty, yeah, portaloo. So I'm hoping someone shows up with porta potties like on a flatbed pickup truck, because there'll be a lot of women there as well, and
Come on,
yeah,
Peter Thiel, get your wallet out.
yeah. I think hopefully Peter Thiel will help. So, and it's gonna be freezing cold. I'm gonna freeze my ass off because I'm from Arizona, and it's like right now it's the middle of winter and it's like 60 degrees outside. So I'm not used to cold weather.
Hmm.
Um, and I don't know what that is Celsius, but it's gonna be cold, and I'm not used to the cold. But yeah, 1 to 2 million people. They always portray it as a peaceful protest, right? And so from the wildprotest.com, it says, "We the people must take to the U.S. Capitol lawn and steps until Congress do not certify on January 6th. Congress cannot certify this fraudulent electoral college. Our presence in D.C. will let members of Congress know that we stand with Representative Mo Brooks and other colleagues in the House of Representatives who will bravely object to the certification of the Electoral College." So I think there's about 12 senators so far who have objected
Hmm.
to they say they'll not sign off on it. Let me see the full list here.
Yeah, there were Ted Cruz was like issued a statement on behalf of I think it was 11 when I looked this morning, but there might have been someone else come out since then.
Yeah, yeah.
But like it's
So
for me, the craziest thing is like how we ended up here. Like until the right until the day of the election, for 4 years, I had heard so many news reports and so many Democratic senators and congressmen and like media personalities. There was like a few like ex-intelligence agency people who were running events to show like how
mhm.
vulnerable these voting machines were to being hacked or like accessed or just fucked with generally. And like right
Yeah.
up until the election day, that people like were saying, we have to be careful of the voting machines. We have to be careful. We have to be careful. And then the second that Joe Biden went ahead, it's like, nope, safest election in history. And then and
Yeah.
then like there was just some really weird stuff. Like I haven't like personally had the time to dive into every single different like allegation of stuff that's been going on, but like just from the
Yeah.
stuff I've seen, like that Michigan's the weirdest one. That fucking video, man. Like, is that
Oh
in
yeah.
Georgia or is that in
No, I
Michigan?
think it was Georgia where they pull the
Georgia.
suitcases out from underneath the
Yeah.
tables.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
Georgia.
just like that deserves to be investigated. Like
Yeah.
Like, just like if I was American, I would be like, hang on, like, what the fuck? Like, just please, like, question these people, like, see what the fuck they did, and like, surely that should be possible. Like,
Yeah.
and then, like, all the people who are saying, maybe we don't believe the election, would be forced to, like, if they came out and there was like the legit nothing, then fair
Mm-hmm.
enough. Like, I reckon there's like a fair portion of people who would never believe it, but like enough people would believe that like the election was like secure and safe for them to then move on with the support of most of the country. Except now, what's going to happen is, because they've refused to like even air the possibility that, like,
Mm-hmm.
regardless of the number of like weird things and like people coming forward, like you
Yeah.
can brush off like some like affidavits, but when you have like video evidence plus like stacks and stacks of people like swearing under oath
Mm-hmm.
under pain of perjury, and then like they have some statistical experts coming in, then they're able to show, no, the voting machines might have been like, they were maybe able to be connected to the internet, but only through this router, and it wasn't connected. Oh no, actually it was connected. And like
Yeah.
I keep hearing more and more and more, and they just go, like, at what point do they just go, well, maybe we should like look at this just for posterity? And they don't.
Yeah.
That's how they get
No,
to the
they
point.
don't, and they continue to deny, and that's why the blowback is going to be even more bigger when if Trump wins, if they declare him the winner, dude, there's another 60 million people who have been listening to CNN the last 2 months who literally think that Trump's trying to steal the election. So regardless, they've been conditioned to believe that Biden already won. They've been, I think was it like 2 weeks after the election. They didn't even wait like 30 days or anything. They said, "Oh, Biden won, Biden won." So for 2 months, the mainstream media has been telling people that Biden won. So if it's reverse and Trump wins, then millions of people in these liberal coastal cities like New York and California are going to be outraged, and there's going to be I'm not sure. Do you think there's going to be more protests and violence from the people on the left or people on the right?
I think you're likely to get more violence if Congress chooses not to certify some of these states on Wednesday. I think you're going to
Yeah.
get more violence from the left, and I would not have
Yeah.
said that a year ago. I yeah, I would not have said that a year ago. But like,
Yeah.
you watch Trump, they like Trump, like, okay, it looks at the minute, at least anyway, like Trump lost, right?
Uh-huh.
And say that that's the case, and like, even with all the allegations that have been laid out, what happened? Nothing. Like, there was no riots. There was no like autonomous zones being declared in Texas.
Yeah.
There was no, like, do you know what I mean? Like, the only fights
Right.
that happened were between like some fucking Antifa people and some of the Proud Boys. Like, they're not like concerning to me, really, like, unless they get a lot more support, either of them. They're like they're little fringe like side movements that like just, they don't have the support of a lot of people.
Yeah.
But like
But
the
at
shit
one
like
point, what point is the right going to be, say, hey, enough is enough? We've seen violent tactics from the left so far. We have not seen yet violent tactics from right-wing militias or right-wing groups. eh, unless they're doing it really discreetly. But
mm,
it's hard to assassinate politicians discreetly, or
mm,
pull. It's hard to drag politicians into the streets
mm.
and put hang them or whatever. Oh, I hope it doesn't come to that. But you just wonder how where they're pushing. The left is pushing, and maybe this is the goal for the communists. They want to destroy our country. They want to cause rifts and a civil war. So
Mm.
maybe they want that violence. But how much is the right going to take before this explodes into violence? If
I
indeed it
mean,
is going to.
I got news for the lefties in America. Like, they don't have any guns. Like, the right, like the right are the ones with the
Yeah.
guns, guys. Like,
And the ex-military guys, all
yeah,
the ex-military. How
don't
many veterans?
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Like, don't pick this fight. It's not going to end well. Like,
Yeah.
it really concerns me. Like, I
Yeah.
think it's more likely to be peaceful, though. Like I said,
Yeah.
if we find that, if we know that we find, if if nothing changes, essentially, and
The
Biden gets
protests in DC
inaugurated.
are not they're not intended to be violent. They're intended to be a show of force.
Mm,
Look, hey, there's 2 million people in the Capitol. this is supposed to be a message to the legislators, to the Senate. Look, there's 2 million people in this who showed up to DC because they're fed up. We have mountains of evidence about election fraud. Do something about it, or and they keep on threatening. I don't like it when they threaten the organizers of like Stop the Steal are like, oh, well, we're gonna primary you. We're gonna make sure you lose in 2 years. Like, for me personally, there is no 2 years from now. There is no 4 years from now. People are like, oh, we can win again in 2024. A lot of people agree with me on this. A lot of Americans, look, there will be no 2024. If we let Biden win, if he wins the presidency, like it's game over. Like there will be no more chance to win elections, because if this election was rigged, like they're going to rig every other election,
Yeah.
and there'll be no transparency. So I think this is like a last ditch effort for us. Americans are desperate. They're fed up. They're yeah, we do not want Biden like as president. We don't want Obama 2.0,
Hmm.
or even he might even be worse than Obama. So anyways, that's what we're looking at. I mean, I think a lot of Americans agree, and like you said, Josh, there's a lot of it's a fight that the lefties do not want to pick against the military veterans in the United States who are fed up, who yeah, it's not a fight physically they wanted to pick, and it's not a fight ideologically that would be good for this country.
No.
But at a certain point, we have to push back against these coastal cities with their millions of you know leftist people who are not indicative, who do not reflect the values of the majority of America, like middle America.
Hmm.
So if we need to, it's probably not going to happen. But if we need to secede or split up the United States, not ideal. But I think we need to explore that option, because we're too fractured at this point, and we can't let politicians in California dictate to the rest of America what we believe.
Yeah, I mean, the craziest argument I hear against just like let's go through all the example. Like I would love them to just be like, right, okay, you want to prove there's election fraud? Like, here's your chance. We're gonna hold this big hearing. Like just get your dick out and let's see what you got.
Yeah,
Like, do you not like for me, if you really thought they were just talking bullshit, that would be the best thing to do. Like, it's just
yeah,
be like, right, come on, let's see, let's go. Bring out your dead. Like, let's
yeah,
see. Do you know what I mean? Like the sunlight is the best disinfectant. It's that kind of idea, you know? Like,
yeah.
mm,
And in where I live in Arizona, there's a Maricopa County. Maricopa County, they have a board of supervisors, and they certify the election. And then Sidney Powell came in and filed a lawsuit, and they're pushing back. They're trying to hide. They're scurrying. I talked about this yesterday in a speech in the Capitol here in Phoenix. The Maricopa County Board of Supervisors, they're scurrying like cockroaches. They're filing lawsuits. They've hired lawyers to not allow access to these voting machines, the
like
Dominion voting
what if you
machines.
got to hide?
Yeah, exactly,
You know, like,
exactly.
and I'm aware that you can't say Trump won. That's sarcastic. If you're listening, YouTube, I
Yeah,
definitely didn't mean that. But like, but like, just please just look at this shit, because like for the good of the
yeah,
country, like you need to convince the 70 million people that don't believe you, or the system doesn't work anymore. Like a government it functions by consent when we all believe in the system. Like, I think
yeah.
that's what it's what Yuval Noah Harari, the guy who wrote Sapiens and Homo Deus, he said that like uh, humanity is essentially like everything we've built is a result of the stories that we tell each other and that we believe each other. Like
Hmm.
civilization itself, like our whole like society as a whole, is it's just this story that we all believe in, and therefore it works.
Yeah,
And when 70 million people stop believing that like voting is any good, and like
yeah,
there's another, like, I don't know, was it like 50 million or something, or 60 million that didn't vote,
yeah,
who were eligible, and then there's like the other 80 million, I don't know how many of them are dead, that voted for Joe Biden.
yeah.
um, and yeah, did you see some of the dead people voting? That was really
Oh,
funny.
yeah. I mean, when in Arizona, our margin was even smaller. Biden won by 11,000 votes, so that margin is very easily eliminated. But yeah, go on.
But yeah, like it's just I would just love them to lay it out and just
Yeah.
because like I said, if you don't, if 70 million people and then plus the other 50 or 60 million that already don't believe in the system, like
Mhm.
when you've got like the majority of people that not actually believing that the system is working in any way, shape, or form, or is it's just all lies, like that's
Right.
that's when a country falls apart.
Yeah.
Like that's
And,
the end.
yeah, and I really think, I mean, if you compare this to like the Arab Spring, hopefully, this might be something similar to like the Arab Spring that we had in, I believe, in 2011 in Egypt, where they threw out Mubarak, and then the Muslim Brotherhood took power for a while.
Mm.
But
It was all started by that guy self-immolating on I can't remember where, but some guy set himself on
Tunisia,
fire in
Tunisia, yeah,
Tunisia. That's the one, and
yeah,
that's what kicked it all off.
yep,
Yeah, so it just needs like one little spark.
yeah, and I think there's powers that want to. I mean, obviously, so if you're the leftist people in charge, or the cabal or whatever, the globalists, you actually want to keep the US intact, fractured but intact. So you have more power that way.
Mm.
But if it's, yes, that's ideal for them. But if it's split up into separate countries, then it would be less advantageous for the left, for these powers. But yeah, looking at the votes, so in Obama, he received, I believe in 2012 or 2008, he received 69 million votes. Trump in 2016, 74 million votes. And they're trying to say that Biden received 81 million votes. Um, Obama had 873 counties vote for him. Trump 24, about 2,500, and then Biden only won 477 counties. And then you look at the bellwether counties and states. Trump and Obama both won 18 of the 19. Biden only won one of the 19.
Only one.
Yeah, and then Florida, Ohio, Iowa, those three states, both Obama and Trump won those three states, Florida, Ohio, Iowa, and then Biden lost those three states. And Biden actually lost, the Democrat Party lost House seats during this election, yet Biden won the election. So there's a lot of discrepancies just with, if you're just looking at the statistical data and of who normally wins the presidency. Of
Mm.
course, not a typical election year with COVID and everything. Granted, but the last thing I just want to close out on with the regarding election is just, if you mail out, just basic math, like a third grader could tell you this. If you mail out, I don't know what it was exactly in Pennsylvania, 700,000 or 500,000 ballots, and then you receive back more,
Wait,
then those had to come from
hang on.
somewhere.
They got more mail-in ballots back than they mailed out.
Yes.
What?
Um, yeah, let me try to find the stat. So they mailed out, let's see here. They probably, let's see here. So Pennsylvania officials. Yeah. So anyways, there's some math there. I'm trying to find the article real quick, but what I understand is that they mailed out a certain number of ballots, let's say 500,000, and they received back like 700,000 ballots. And on election day, Trump was ahead by like 700,000 votes, and then somehow that got reversed. That's a very large margin to reverse 700,000. I'm trying to find that article. Yeah, okay. So Pennsylvania reports having mailed out 1.8 million ballots, of which 1.4 million were returned, yet total mail-in voters number 2.5 million. Where did the extra 1.1 million votes come from?
So they sent out 1.8 million. They received back 1.4 of the official ones that they sent out,
Yeah.
but
So
there's
they're saying
2.5 million postal
total
votes.
mail-in voters. Yeah.
Right.
So somehow this, yeah. So so just the numbers, if you're just a statistician, and they have top statisticians and people
Yeah, I
who are
saw some of the
leftist
testimony.
Democrats, Bobby Piton speaking out. And so yeah, just the numbers don't add up. I mean, so whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, look, we want to win it fair and square. If you want to win it fair and square, that's fine. But looking at the numbers just don't add up.
Mm. I mean, the thing that still shocks me is that, like, say there was like say in a hypothetical world that the Republicans prove that there was some sort of like massive vote flipping right going on,
Mhm.
and that like maybe a few million extra votes all around America, right? Like
Mhm.
that's ultimately like that's the best case scenario is that is the truth, right? That they
Yeah.
have the proof and that's what happens. In that case, right, you still have like over 70 million people that voted for Joe Biden, like the senile, like
Yeah.
positionless, like formless, like just career politician who's like clearly losing his mind, has
Yeah.
has all the convictions of a piece of toast, and just like he's the least, and he didn't do any campaigning. He just stayed inside. He screwed Bernie after Obama called like a bunch of people to drop out on the same day in the primaries, and
Yeah.
like over 70 million people still voted for him. I still find that shocking. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, like people are like, I can't believe so many people voted for Trump. And I'm like, have you seen his rallies? Like they love him. Like
Yeah.
you can not understand why, but people fucking love him, right?
Yeah.
And I don't understand how people could get how that many people could be enthusiastic about voting for Joe Biden.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, as a candidate, I mean, I can see why people got excited about Obama, you know?
Oh
Uh,
yeah,
Besides the fact that he was the first Black African American or first African American president, which is great.
yeah, man. But
Um,
he was smart. He was funny. He was
yeah, he's a
articulate.
great speaker. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Charismatic. So, yeah, Biden, what did he have going for me? All he had was name recognition, basically. And, yeah, so if you just look at candidates as a person, yeah, Trump says some dumb stuff. We don't like what he says all the time. But he's we feel like he's pretty straightforward. He tries to speak directly to the public.
Mm.
Not your typical politician, but Biden, what does he have going for him? I mean, you compare him to like a piece of toast, or he has the. So is that a piece? So in the UK, do would it be a piece of toast with butter or with jam, or
I
we
mean,
call it jelly here in
that's
the
probably more flavor than and personality than Joe Biden has. So just be a dry piece of toast.
a dry piece of toast with
Yeah,
no flavor. Yeah,
yeah.
I think
Like
just want to
he's
make sure that analogy was accurate. Yeah,
yeah. Like, yeah, but there's no color, there's no fun. He's just gray and
yeah,
and he looks kind of like painted on. Like his face kind of looks like one of those like on Scooby Doo they'd always like pull the plastic thing off the villain. They'd always have this a perfect mask on that no one
yeah.
ever noticed till the end. Like that's what his face looks like to me. I just kind of want to poke it a little bit.
Is it real? Is it
Yeah.
fake? Is he? Yeah, Biden. I mean, and then Kamala Harris. I think that's the biggest fear for most Americans is not so much Biden, but who he has with him, which is Kamala Harris.
Mm.
So there's theories about, whether if Biden won, oh, he would just he's already in a severe mental decline, so
Yeah,
they can
I
maybe
give it
validate him.
a
Yeah.
year max. Like he's not all there. And like they
No.
might be able like people they hid FDR's like disability for quite a while. But like you can hide that. You can just have them sitting down. But you can't hide if someone's actually losing their mind. Like there were
Yeah.
times that I thought Trump was losing it during the presidency. Like I thought like he was kind of just like starting to
Hmm.
unravel a little bit. But then the last year or so he seemed pretty sharp, like just as he was in 2016. Like maybe not as, I don't know, maybe not with quite the same energy, but maybe that's
Yeah.
just because we're all used to him now. I don't know. Like 2015 he came in with a bang, he's like, you're a
Yeah.
liar, you're a liar. It's difficult to come in with to keep that kind of energy when you're the incumbent.
Yeah.
um,
Yeah, he lost maybe some of his shine at certain times, some of his polish. But the yeah, okay. The last thing I want to mention here about the election. So we were talking about the protests on this next week and January 6th in Washington D.C. Now there's a guy named Lynn Wood, Lin, last name Wood,
mhm.
and he's a top defamation attorney. He's got a Twitter account which has been just skyrocketing. He probably has 500,000 followers now, and he's been floating the last week. He's been floating these weird theories. So he's been saying that Mike Pence, the vice president, is going to be arrested. And I don't know, some of it's crazy talk. And then he came out saying that Jeffrey Epstein is still
Oh
alive,
yeah, I
that he
saw
knows.
this.
So I'm not sure if this is just purposeful misinformation to keep the masses distracted before big news drops,
Mm.
or I'm just not sure on what his tactics are.
Yeah, the Epstein thing. I was like, ooh, because my
Yeah,
friend sent me this picture like about a month ago. So it was like it was meant to be from from Little St. James, Epstein's island, and there's this guy from above that like is apparently it's Epstein because he's not dead yet. But like the photo could have
yeah,
been old and it was above and pixely, so you couldn't really tell. But like
yeah,
then you like Linwood comes out and be like, yeah, he's not dead. I mean, they don't have the camera footage from when he was killed. It's not.
yeah.
I don't. It's don't think it's impossible.
Yeah, it's within the realm of possibility, and I'm just so why is he talking about, why is Len talking about this? If he's alive or dead, I don't know. All I know is in the last year, there's been an increase in arrests regarding human trafficking. So somebody's talking somewhere. Um, but yeah, this Linwood character, he's quite the anomaly, and he's quite mysterious, and he's good at hinting things and implying things, but to say that Vice President Mike Pence is going to be arrested is somewhat far fetched, for even for me.
Yeah.
So I don't understand that, but we doing that. Yeah, next week is going to be wild, and you can go to Wild Is it Wild Protest? I just had the website up. I think it's Wild Protest. Yeah, wildprotest.com. And I'll be there with some other whistleblowers. Zach Voorhees, the Google whistleblower, and a former journalist with Project Veritas. We'll have a documentary film producer there, Mickey Willis, who produced the movie Plandemic. He's in our entourage, our group of people going.
Ah.
Zach Red Pill 78 will be there, an influencer. So yeah, we're gonna try not to freeze, and we'll try to make sure we have somewhere to go potty
Mm.
and somewhere to use the restroom, and we're gonna have a lot of fun there in DC. And so yeah, I'm expecting 1 to 2 million. The cell phone coverage might be spotty. We have someone coming from Puerto Rico working with us who might have a way to do a live broadcast, but it's going to be epic. I'm curious to see how they're going to cover it in the UK. If they're going to, I think they're just going to suppress it. I don't
Hmm.
know how you can suppress 2 million people showing up in Washington D.C.
I mean, they never
But
mention any of the protests here at the minute.
yeah,
There's like in the UK, there's like any of the anti-lockdown, anti-COVID measures protests have just been basically completely not covered by the press. It's
hmm
kind of concerning. Like I was at a march here in Innsbruck at the weekend. I don't know, so like at least 1,000 people there, and they got like no the main like media company for like the TV station for the region
hmm
didn't even mention it. Um, and I was like,
yeah,
fair enough, you don't think it's good, but like they used to at least report on what was going on.
yeah.
They could say like 1,000 crazy anti-lockdown people marched through, but at least that's reporting it. But they didn't even cover it. So
Yeah,
I
we haven't seen too much about your protests either, because I think
don't.
there's been protests in Europe and Germany. I know Germany's had some big anti-lockdown protests. And the
Hmm,
one you went to, how many in Austria? It was in Austria, in the
yeah.
UK. How many people were there?
Here was just just
A
I
smaller,
thought about 1 to 2,000. I thought, but the one in London was like
yeah,
10,000 people. The videos I saw,
yeah,
like the whole of Trafalgar Square was packed out. So it was
hmm
really it's really inspiring to see. The thing that was really cool for me about the one here is that like I've never protested anything in my life.
yeah,
It's the first time I ever decided that I thought, like this is like my moment to like actually go and do something because I legit think this has gone way too far.
hmm
And that's the vibe I got from everyone there. It wasn't
yeah,
like professional protesters or people who are out on the picket
no.
line like every week protesting, I don't know, left, right, and center about stupid fucking, I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I
It's not your typical, it's not your feminists walking around
No,
topless. It's not your far right wing militia groups or
no.
people.
It was
It
just a
goes beyond ideology. It really does go beyond ideology.
Yeah, it was just a bunch
It's
of
people
ordinary
fed up.
people. Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know, that gives me a bit of hope, at least for the future. Cause, at least it is ordinary people. Cause that's how we get control of the world back. Or at
Yeah.
least like lack of being controlled. Like
hmm
it's that's how we get it back is when normal people and like everyday people remember that like we are, yeah, We are the government.
Hmm.
Like they exist by our consent, and without that, they have no power.
Right. They exist by the consent of the governed, and I think these officials have lost sight of it. Even people we've trusted in, like here in Arizona, we trusted in our governor Doug Ducey, and he was a pretty good guy. He was more conservative. He's been very pro business, but when COVID hit, a lot of these politicians took advantage. In Michigan, the governor of Michigan, Gretchen Whitmer, she really took advantage of the situation. And then you see the double standard, of course, and you have politicians, going on their private excursions, taking trips when everybody else can't. So rules for thee, not for me. And then we have also, the president of Belarus. There was a news article saying that he'd been bribed $900 million to implement these COVID restrictions in his country. And so, we just see that double standard and the hypocrisy once again from the elites. Why shouldn't they eat? What is that famous quote from the queen who said,
Mary Antoinette,
let them eat cake.
let them eat cake. Yeah, exactly.
Right. Just that disconnect from the common
Yeah.
person.
They have no bread. Well, let them eat cake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I get very concerned at the minute just because, like, two things scare me. Like, one, like you said, the last person that tried to make someone wear something ended up killing 6 million people in gas chambers. And yeah, well, that's the truth. And like the reason that he came to power was because Germany was just printing a shit ton of money in order to deal with a problem that they had no clue how to deal with. And then the economy crashed, and then people wanted two things: they wanted bread and they wanted work. And that's all a lot of people want right now. I mean, here they got like a pretty good like system set up to like be keeping everyone sort of financially solvent, at least sort of. But places.
But how do you sustain that? You can't sustain that for any period of time. And you can almost compare it to the collapse of the East and West Germany in the early 90s, where they had to Western Germany was like, look, we're going to help you guys out, but we have to start from scratch, totally rebuild the system. And so some people are saying that this COVID thing is a way for the globalists to kind of rebuild the entire economic system and make sure everything is cashless and controlled. So that might be one way that they can kind of reset the world economy. But Eastern and Western Germany, we know when the Berlin Wall fell and East Germany was struggling really, financially, that's all people wanted was bread and a job, like something to eat and a job. But now, I don't know how it is in the UK, but here in the US, some of us can work from home, but there's a lot of restaurants that are closed down, local businesses. Yet Walmart and Costco, the largest retailers in the US, are can continue to operate, and they're actually doing very, very well for themselves this year. And of course, Amazon, Facebook, Google, all of them. So it's they're destroying local businesses. And now we just got tomorrow or this last week, I got a $600 check from the government. So me and my wife, we got $600 each, $1,200, which is peanuts. I heard in Australia, they got like, for the last 9 months, they got like $3,000 a month from the government.
I mean, their cost of living's a little sort of higher. So it's like like $3,000 there wouldn't get you the same amount as $3,000 in the US, just because they've like people are in like stupid amount of money per hour over there, but then it's all sort of leveled out because of cost of living and whatnot. But
so we're having to subsist on anyway. So that's what the government wants, is like us to rely on them and not use our small businesses, and then they can fuck us over more. And we basically have to suck off their teat, basically. The government's teat. So that's how it works. I think it's all part of the plan for them to take control.
I mean, whether it's planned or not, like having people relying on the government for like that sizable a portion of people dependent on the government to like survive is fucking dangerous. Like it's really, really dangerous, because like people aren't going to overthrow the system that's like feeding them. Like, you know, if that's the only, if it's that or starve, they'll, like, a lot of people will choose, like, we'll just take that. And that's a really dangerous place to be in.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, hopefully what's going to happen is, right, on the 6th of January, the Congress are going to open up and be like, okay, guys, we're going to have a serious hearing on all this election stuff. Don't worry. And then we're going to make sure that, like, Joe Biden isn't totally bought off by China. And then we're going to stop, like, trading with China. And then they're going to stop their genocide. And then we're going to stop listening to them on lockdowns. And the world will all go back to normal. That's that's the dream.
We'd all like to go back to normal. And I think, that's the goal. That's the dream for us. I don't know what the new normal is going to look like. I think once, we've got to take
us. That's why I tell everyone.
Yeah, it really is up to us. Get off Netflix, get off your computer, go out to these protests, make a difference.
Yeah.
The politicians need to hear from us. So, Josh, it's been a pleasure. I'm going to get going here pretty shortly.
Yeah, that's no problem, man. I was about to say, let's leave it on that's nice positive note.
Yeah. So thanks so much for this interview. And once again, my book will be coming out later this year. Behind the Mask of Facebook, a firsthand account of my time as a whistleblower at Facebook. So thanks so much for having me on your show.
Yeah, no problem, man. It was a pleasure.
All right.
So thanks so much for listening. If you haven't already and you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to this podcast and to our mailing list. And don't forget, my book, Brexit, The Establishment Civil War, is now available for pre-order on Amazon. You'll find the link in the description below. Until next time, thanks so much for listening.